Day 28, I'm reading Reader Come Home by Marian Wolf, page 113. The Stanford neuroscientist Russell Poldrack and his team have investigated this question for well over a decade, including looking at the physiological differences in children with and without attention deficit diagnosis, and very recently in multitasking performances for students raised with digital media. Perhaps predictably for children with attention deficits, there were significant differences in their personal inhibitory systems, which are essential in the mental switching requirements involved in multitasking. Specifically, children with diagnosed attentional issues appeared less able to focus their attention on one task because they could not stop paying attention to all other tasks. Given the increasing numbers of distractions that populate the digital worlds of many children, we have to ask whether greater numbers of children who are otherwise typical are becoming prone to behaviors similar to children diagnosed with attention deficit disorder because of their environments. If so, what other effects might such changes have on different aspects of their development? For example, a positive aspect is simultaneously emerging. The growing ability of digitally raised youth to deal, at least under some circumstances, with moving their attention across multiple streams of information without diminished performances. There is by now a long and complicated body of research on task switching or attention switching, usually conducted with adults. Although previous studies by Poldrack and others have provided compelling evidence of the inability of most humans to switch without considerable brain costs, i.e., to their ability to process anything in depth. One of Poldrack's recent studies indicates that digitally raised youth can do this if they have been trained sufficiently in one of the tasks. If our children become far better than most adults at handling multiple sources of information, they will possess skills increasingly important for many future jobs. In other words, without necessarily preparing them to become a generation of air traffic controllers, they may well become more capable than their parents in learning to attend to and perform skillfully across attentional distractions within constraints, the details of which we need to research and understand rigorously and systematically. This is especially important since many of them say that when they read on a screen, they are 90% likely to be multitasking and only 1% likely to multitask when reading on print media. Oh. We are perched on a cusp between the promise and delivery of ever greater contributions our digital culture to every aspect of our lives, including their extension, and the dawning realization of the unanticipated consequences that accompany them. Research by Steiner Ador, Hallowell, and a growing number of others point to the need for far more in-depth research into the varied effects of the overwhelming digital claims on many of our children, particularly on cognition. Memory in a grasshopper mind. If for me this needed research begins with attention and reading, it is because that is what I know best and where the first major cognitive impact may be most visible. It is also where we may use both science and technology to have the greatest chance for positive change. If attention in the young child, which is spasmodic and exploratory by nature, becomes all the more attenuated because of constant input. Those of us who are researchers have to figure out the downstream effects on memory and other aspects of cognitive development. One question revolves around the children's ability to hold things in working memory, one of the most important variables in learning literacy and numeracy. The writer Maggie Jackson has a great digital smile for thinking about working memory. Our working memory is a bit like a digital news scroll slithering across Times Square, constantly updated, never more than a snippet, no looking back. Now consider the fact that when we adults watch television news, we are often unable to listen to the broadcaster and simultaneously read the news scroll with anything close to optimal comprehension of either content. How much more will working memory change in young children if too many stimuli are always vying for their attention? We need to know. The second issue involves other forms of memory. If changes in working memory begin to occur, changes in long-term memory would also be predicted. If both are changed, we would predict downstream effects on children's building of their background knowledge. The latter, in turn, would impact the development and deployment of multiple deep reading skills in the formative period of young reading circuit. Okay, I should stop here. This was Minty. Please correct me if you can. Thank you.